Hey everybody, excuse me, I'm back. I had to cut my last episode short because I had an issue to go and take care of, and now I'm continuing on the conversation of a city councilman in Oakland required or he requested the National Guard to come out and pretty much guard the city because of the high level of terrorism that is taking place in Oakland right now. And I was saying, on one hand, it makes sense because you have so much crime and you do want to protect your citizens at all costs from these people who have no regard for human life. So these are domestic terrorists. And like I stated in the last video, whenever we as the military take our oath, there is a part in our oath where we say that we are sworn to protect the United States and its citizens against foreign and domestic terrorism. And so if we look back over the past year or two, you will notice that groups such as these white nationalists, militias, groups such as the gangs, the BDs, GDs, Bloods, Crips, all of these nationally organized gangs have been placed on the terrorism list, which I feel like was a smart thing to do because now you can use the military against these terrorists. And we always talk about we're afraid of having a militarized police department, but if you look at the police department's gear, they always get the hand-me-downs from the military. And so when you look at the SWAT teams and you look at the riot gear and all that stuff like that, it's nothing but hand me down military gear because the military is upgraded. And so, in essence, you already have a militarized police force. You see, they got MRAPs, the big old armored vehicles that we was using overseas. They have the weapons. They have all of the gear. And so, in essence, we already have a militarized police force. They're out here and they do these drills, and they say that they're doing drills to learn how to handle large crowds in a city. And oftentimes I see military vehicles being utilized by the police force. And so while we're sitting here and we're trying to be in denial about the fact that we have a militarized police force, all of the actions of the police point towards the military. And as far as the brutal shootings and these things of that nature, I did a show a long time ago explaining how some of these police officers are former military and they've been on multiple deployments, not to mention all of the things that they deal with in the streets that they're a beat cop. And all of this will cause them to have severe PTSD, and it will cause that paranoia that will lead a police officer to shoot somebody sight on scene. That was a lot of the experience that took place. Those were the things that we experienced overseas. I'll just say it like that. People were afraid for their lives, and so they would shoot first and ask questions later. Sounds very familiar, huh? Well, that's the same exact thing that we were doing over there. That's the same exact thing that's taking place here. And I liken a lot of these police officers to those scared soldiers over there who would rather shoot somebody than to actually try to work out a situation. So that's just going to be a byproduct of the militarized police force. So just get used to it. I mean, really, not much more that I can say about that. I just brought this up because I want people to pay attention to what's going on And, you hear a lot of bold claims and you hear a lot of people saying things that shouldn't be, like militarized police force. But let's be honest, what else are we going to do? These kids out here are just running around shooting with reckless abandon. They don't care who they hit. They don't care whose life they take, or none of those things like that. So what are we to do as people? They want to take our guns away so we're not able to defend ourselves against these people who go and get guns off of the black market and don't care about using a license or trying to get a gun the legal way. So they're gonna go get their guns the dirty way, and they're still gonna be armed, and they're still gonna have the capabilities to exact terror on the people. And so, what are we to do if you enable us to get adequate firearms to be able to defend ourselves against these threats, foreign and domestic? Because we're terrorized by the police, because the police look at us like we're the terrorists. So it's a vicious cycle that's coming back on us as black people, especially young black people, because most of your gang members are in what age bracket? You might have a few OGs who's blessed to be able to live to see 40 or 50, but most of these gang members are our youth, our black youth. And so when you look at it and break it down, our black youth are being labeled as domestic terrorists, and they're going to be treated as a terrorist, not as your child, not as your little 16-year-old son or daughter. They're going to be treated like grown Al Qaeda operatives. They're going to be treated uh, the same way that bin Laden was treated. They're going to be treated the same way that Saddam Hussein was treated. And if you saw what happened to those people, that's going to be the end result to anybody who wears that tag of terrorist. And so I just want you parents to understand that there's about to be a lot of bloodshed in the streets, because if this does take place and they do honor this city councilman's request to use the National Guard against the gangs in the streets, then that's martial law. You're using the military in a police capacity. That's martial law all day long. That's why they call martial law, so that they will be able to use the military on U.S. soil against other U.S. citizens who have been labeled terrorists or extremists. I see the need for it, but at the same time, it's one of those situations that's just going to open up more problems. This is not going to be a solution. This is just a short term fix until Oakland can get the extra 100 police officers that they need to adequately police their neighborhoods. So this is not going to be something that would be long term, but just the fact that it's allowed to be done is setting a new precedence, and it may start a whole new movement within policing as far as using these military tactics. I don't really know how to feel about it, man. I'm torn on this one, because I understand the need. I want people to be safe. I want people to be able to go up to a food truck and buy their food in peace without being robbed or being shot. That's crazy. And, my family, I don't be outside as much. Well, right now I don't, because it's hot. But at the same time, my family members, my daughter, my wife, and my children, they're out and about in this world a whole lot. And, just my worry for them, and it doesn't have, they don't have to be doing anything. You just being out and about, man. My wife has been caught up in active shootings in the mall before. There's all types of things going on around the city, that police just don't have the time to respond to. I've stated many times that the police are reactive and not proactive, and that's an impossible thing to ask of them because that means they would have to be able to anticipate a crime and then give a preemptive strike. And then we'll be calling them bullies and saying they're harassing. So it's a double-edged sword. Man, this is where we are though. And I'll reserve my judgment because I don't know specifically what's going on in Oakland. I've only seen clips of different robberies, and people can paint any type of narrative that they want to if they have the right equipment to put the images out there. So I can't really say. Everything that I'm saying is based on speculation, based on the fact if this councilman is telling the truth, and based on the fact that if this is what this city really needs. Um, so if indeed they need this type of protection, I don't have nothing to say about it. It ain't like my word is going to change anything, but I'm just saying for argument's sake, I wouldn't have anything to say about it. Being prior service military, um, I definitely see the need. I've definitely been on missions where we've helped people during natural disasters. And so I understand that our area of operation is very broad. There's a whole lot that we can be utilized for. And I hope that the military is not utilized to fight against the American people because that's going to start martial law. And when martial law begins, then you're going to have anarchy and so much more that comes along with that tag of martial law. So nobody's going to win if this take place. There's going to be a bunch of dead people on both sides, and there's going to be a whole lot more resentment between ethnic groups because of these actions. Because, like I said, you have people in the military who don't exercise the military ethos, and they don't have the self control, and they don't have the integrity or the selfless service. Some people in the military just don't have that. All they have is the uniform and the license to use their weapon, and they're okay with that mindset. So I want you to keep that in mind when we're talking about utilizing the military in a domestic capacity. These are human beings, and the National Guard are generally made up of people from those areas. And so if they call in the Oakland National Guard, then that means they're going to be calling in the citizens of Oakland. They're going to be calling in neighbors. They're going to be calling in friends. And, some of these kids in the streets, they are connected to some of these National Guard members. I live in Killeen, Texas, and if anybody knows anything about Killeen, Texas, we share this city with Fort Hood, and a lot of the gang members and a lot of the young people out here in the streets that's causing all of this domestic terrorism here where I live, they're the children of our military. They're the children of these soldiers. And so, what's going to happen when these soldiers are utilized to combat against their own children who are out here participating in this gang activity? There's a lot that can come behind using the military in the domestic capacity, but in some senses, what else can we do? Our hands are tied behind our back. We can't just let these little ignorant people keep on just running around shooting people with no type of regard. That's not gonna stand. So we're between a rock and a hard place. I say whatever they do, Do it with compassion and do it with empathy so that you don't cause too much bloodshed. I understand there's going to have to be some bloodshed because any type of resistance against uh, terrorism or tyranny is going to bring about that type of energy. So I ain't even tripping on that. I'm just gonna sit back and watch how this plays out, man. Also, another thing, I was scrolling through my video catalog, and I have quite a few videos. I'm at 720 something videos. I believe this will make 723 or 724. And so I was scrolling through all of my old videos and I began to notice that, there were a lot of topics that I spoke on that I intended to follow up on. And, I just got caught up in different things and I was never able to go back and follow up on a lot of those things. But this is what I'm going to take time out to start doing over the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to sift through a lot of my old content and situations that I said I was going to follow up on and give updates. I'm going to bring those things back to everybody's attention and I'm going to find out updates and I'm going to bring that information to you about things that we've talked about in the past. Because oftentimes what happens is people will you'll be so focused on trying to create original content and some fresh content and something that's going to be interesting and you forget about those follow-ups and those things that you said you were going to keep people posted about. And so in the next few weeks I'm going to be revisiting a lot of these old episodes that I did to where I said that I was going to follow up because I always want to be a man of my word. And, sometimes circumstances and situations can get us off our track, but it's important to try to get back on track if you can at all possible. So, yeah, it's out there. We have a situation to where the police force is going to be militarized or they're going to use the military as a police force. Either way it go, you're going to have the military acting in the capacity as police. But this was brought upon themselves because of their domestic terrorism activities. So, you know, um, my heart goes out to everybody that's going to be involved in this debacle. My heart goes out to the armed forces members who are going to have to fight against the citizens that they've sworn to protect, against the citizens who are causing all of these problems. I feel sorry for the citizens who are going to get caught up in it and the parents who are going to be crying because their children are out here engaged in these gang and terrorism activities and they about to be dealt with. So there's going to be a lot of crying. There's going to be a lot of funerals on both ends, man. And I just feel like it's unfortunate, but it's necessary. So that's all I really have to say about that, man. Y'all just look out for my recaps on previous stories, and I hope you get something out of this. I hope this information sparks a conversation or sparks a thought for the day. Y'all go out here, man, and be great, do great things. This is your boy D Mac. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.